All right, welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast. I'm your host, Sean Meyers, and today I'm sitting down with a young entrepreneur who's building fast, living intentionally, and refusing to waste his 20s. Branden Clay is the founder of Harmony Marketing, a husband, a fitness-driven leader, and somebody deeply committed to growth, discipline, and doing business with integrity. In this conversation, we're pulling back the layers on what it really looks like to build a business early, surround yourself with the right people, and lead with faith, grit, and ownership. Branden, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you very much for having me. It is an absolute honor to be on this show with you right now.
Of course, man. So at 25 years old, that's right, folks, you heard that correctly, at 25 years of age. Branden, I am curious, and I know our listeners and our viewers on YouTube are curious as well. Who is Branden Clay today? And what are you clear on that most people your age are not?
Starting off with a banger question. Who is Branden Clay today? Branden Clay is a man that cares about becoming the best version of himself deeply. That is what he is ultimately driven by. I think I've always been the type of person that looks to, whatever it is that I'm doing. Whenever as a kid, I had a bunch of hobbies. From magic and, Rubik's Cubes to guitar and powerlifting, and now it's business. I've always really sunk my teeth into whatever it is that I get into, and I try to take it as far as I can possibly go. So I say that to say Branden Clay is the kind of guy that tries to become the best that he can possibly be at every single thing that he does. And at this phase of the journey, that's business. That's also fitness. It's, over the last couple of months, really, I've started, really exploring my relationship with God. And that's a pretty new development for me. That was something that was always kind of around when I was a kid, but I never felt personally connected with. So my heart's begun to open up to that. But yeah, ultimately, I'm extremely dedicated to just showing up the best that I can every single day, absorbing knowledge, and seeing how far I can take my business. Now, what was the second half of your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
there's
that's
a
okay.
part to it.
Yeah. What are you clear on that most people your age in the 20s aren't clear yet?
What am I clear on? That's a really good question. I think one of the things that's been very transformative for me lately, and this is a lesson from Myron Golden, and something I've heard from Alex Ramosi as well, is everything that is happening, is happening for you, is not happening to you. And that one is like, it allows me to, in business, there's inevitably a large amount of suffering that you've signed yourself up for, just pain and trials and tribulations and, things that you go through that really make you question, was this actually a smart decision? And it typically, I think I'm learning it takes a lot longer than you originally think it's going to achieve, what you set out to do. But every time, like last month in particular in business was an extremely challenging month for me. And it was an extremely valuable month in the lessons that came out of it. And I think the biggest one is that, it's those experiences and God putting those experiences in my life are working on me for a reason, to prepare me for my assignment. I like to think of it as. And so, I think that's a level of clarity that I have now, that it doesn't matter how long it takes. It's just about continuing to show up and recognizing that everything that happens is happening for me. It's not happening to me.
Man, I was not that wise. You were wise beyond your years, Branden Clay, because in my 20s, I would not have been on a podcast. I would have not have been having conversations and talking about saying things like, hey, what's happening to me is I'm going through this and it's who I'm becoming in this journey. And man, it's just incredible to hear that. And I want our listeners and audience to really slow things down and to understand that. And what I'm hearing you say when you say that, Ed Milet says it, and this is something that resonates with me, is our test, like when you were tested in December in your business, it becomes our testimony. And I love that so much. I mean, and it speaks so heavily to me because that just tells me that Sean, Branden, and then even our listeners and audience listening to this should just go out and do hard things, get comfortable getting uncomfortable, challenging ourselves, because it's who we're becoming in those moments when we're getting tested. And then we reflect back and we go, oh, I didn't die. I survived this. So how do I bridge that gap and build that ladder so other individuals can climb with me? And that's what you're doing, man, at 25 years of age. So that's just incredible.
I think that also is a thing that is maybe my superpower above anything else, and that I think is the trait that I have that I most appreciate, that I have been blessed with, is I really like doing hard things, and it's something that just kind of comes natural. It's not something, I don't have an ego worked up about it, but it's like for years and years, I really like love just whether it's in the gym or business or like, oh my God, this is so painful. Like that, every now and then I'll kind of get down on myself if there's extended periods of pain. And then I always come back to ultimately that lesson of this is like, the man that I'm becoming by going through this that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
So I think the world would benefit, and I think people would benefit by just doing more hard things and seeking more discomfort in their lives, because comfort is only found on the edge, or no, I'm sorry. Dreams. No, I messed that up. The comfort zone is where dreams go to die. That's the quote I was searching for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true, man. And it's so hard to understand. It's easier said than done. And I think one of the things that's helped me, for somebody listening to this, that's great, Branden. You're surrounding yourself, you're doing big things, and you're putting in the work behind the scenes. And a lot of times what I have learned for people that are on the, maybe on the sidelines or seeing Branden's, all his successes in social media and hearing about it on the podcast, there's a disconnect. And one of the things that I have learned that's really helped me build that ladder and build that bridge, and maybe you can touch on this as well, is surrounding myself with other men like Branden. Because when I hear your story and I'm around you on a weekly basis, and there's just something, a phone call, text message, podcast, okay, but there's still a disconnect. There's no human connection there. But when I see you every single Friday and I hear your story and I hear some of the things that you're working on and doing, to me, that's caught, not taught. And you're modeling who I'm wanting to become. That is so much powerful on doing hard things, getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable, because it's iron sharpens iron, right? And then too many times we stay in isolation, and that's where we try to do everything on our own, and we can't. We need to be around each other to do those hard things. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think, I can't take any credit for why I am the way that I am. I feel like I'm very blessed to have just the mindset that I do, just around growth and naturally being driven. But I think it largely, is because, I was placed in a community. I was born into an amazing family. I was extremely loved as a kid. And pretty much all the friends that I've ever had, share, like all the people that are in my close inner circle share a very similar mindset as the one that I do. And it's been caught, not taught, through years of being around those people and being intentional and selective with the people that I surround myself with since I was a kid. And I've always had a pretty tight inner circle. I've never been the guy that has like, a ton of friends, but I have a handful of really, really close people. And all those people are the reason why I am the way that I am. And if I had not been so fortunate to have been surrounded by such an amazing community of people, I don't know where I would be, or I don't know what my life would look like, or what my internal environment would look like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the single greatest shortcut to success that you can take, and not that I'm there, I'm still heavily in the building phase. But I think the greatest shortcut to ultimately developing a internal environment and a mindset that will lead to success is by being super intentional about the people that you surround yourself with. And and also finding opportunities to get around people that are like at a higher level than you, because a lot of the time in my own world, like I'm the guy that I feel like is plays the role of what you are within the Level Up and Live community. And then I come in and I see you and how like ferocious and energetic and fired up you are, and it's like, all right, that's the next level. I want to be like this guy, and it's like that energy that you bring is so contagious. And so it's just like surrounding yourself with amazing people, and then constantly looking for opportunities to surround yourself with people who are at an even higher level, you know? So that you really attracted me to this community for that reason.
Has anybody ever told you that you're very rare? You're very unique?
Maybe they keep it to themselves.
I think I've told you at least a handful of times already. But that's the mindset you've got to have, man. You hit the nail right on the head. What you're speaking, the words that you're speaking are very powerful, and people have been given the blueprint of life. You can go on YouTube these days, ChatGPT, tell me what the next 90 days should look like to build a business, or to be the best husband in my marriage, to work out and lose, 50 pounds, to get shredded abs, to have deep relationships. But they have the blueprint, but they don't take action. They're not intentional behind it. Why do you think that is, man?
It's a good question. And I feel like the world it's very easy nowadays to fall into the trap of being a consumer rather than a producer. And there's just such an overabundance of information. And I would say somewhat of a lack of wisdom, because people can go anywhere and gather tons of information, and, all the knowledge is there to become an expert on any topic. But what people don't do is take that information and implement it and take action, and then distill that information into actual practical real world wisdom. And so I think there's an overabundance of information that makes it easy to just consume. And also, these social media platforms, whether it's like the Instagrams and Facebooks or YouTube and podcasts, it's like, it goes back to the comfort zone thing. It's very comfortable to just consume, and it's it feels really good, and you get a hit of dopamine like every time you learn something. But it's not comfortable. It's actually very uncomfortable in most cases to take that knowledge and then go implement and take action. And so I think so many people, especially a lot of young people, get in this trap of constantly convincing themselves that they're learning, but they're never actually implementing. And ultimately, I think, like your question, why don't people take action? I think it's a blend of they are stuck in the comfort zone. They're unwilling to subject themselves to discomfort. And they probably just don't have a strong enough why or clarity of where they want to go. And so they don't have a reason to change. I think it's Tony Robbins that says people don't change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. So I think it's all about the comfort thing.
That's really good, man. And I want to transition going into, we've talked a lot about wholeness, right? Becoming that 10.0 version of yourself. And you're really, really ahead of the game. You've got a competitive advantage there because you know and understand and grasp the concept of, I need to look inward, right? Because it's not external, it's not outward, it's looking inward and working on yourself, because once you work on yourself and work on becoming that 10.0 version, everything else levels up. Your impact, your serving, look what you're doing. You're going to be impacting and serving hundreds and thousands of people on this podcast and in your community and in your business, because you're looking inward. You're slowing things down, getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable. Now, transitioning into your business, I'm curious, man, what pushed you to start a business, Harmony Marketing? We can tap into that a little bit, instead of taking the safe route, like what you talked about, consuming.
Yeah. Well, so for context, I went to college at Texas Tech, was getting a marketing degree. The only reason I even went to college, honestly, was because my mom wanted to pay for my tuition. I really didn't want to go to college. She had me when she was 21, and she dropped out of college to take care of me. And so she always, like, as I was growing up, wanted to provide that opportunity. And so I'm like, I really don't want to go to college, but it seems like what everybody else is doing, and my mom is like giving me this opportunity to not go into debt. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And I ended up choosing marketing I've considered a wide variety of different career paths from like engineering and medicine because I went to the Woodlands High School and that's what everybody else was doing. And so I'm like, maybe I should do that. Or I was very into powerlifting at the time. I considered physical therapy, becoming a physical therapist, and nothing really stuck or felt like it resonated. And so I ended up, just choosing marketing literally because it seemed like a degree that I could get to keep as many doors open as possible so I could just figure out what I wanted to do later. And so basically what initially sparked my interest in entrepreneurship was, so COVID happened while I was in college. It happened like halfway through my freshman year of college. I came back home for, a year and a half. During that time, to make some side money, I was doing manual labor, doing landscaping for a family friend's landscaping company, just shoveling rocks and planting plants and things. And I was like, whenever I go back to college, I'm going to need a way to make money. And I'm like, maybe I'll just try this out. She seems like it's, I can do this on my own. And so, I got a pickup truck when I went back to college because the other car I was driving, like literally, it was this old Suburban, 300,000 miles, broke down. Got a pickup truck, yeah, old 2006 Toyota Tundra. Went back to college and went to Home Depot, picked up a shovel, like a backpack leaf blower, and a few other little hand tools. And then I just got on Nextdoor, and I found out, Nextdoor. Nextdoor is like an app you can use to go find like local service providers type thing. It's like a neighborhood, kind of like a Facebook for little businesses. So I got on Nextdoor and I started, going out, literally just mowing people's lawns. And then I transitioned into doing more like landscape design. I had no idea what I was doing. I just had my experience from working with Monica, was her name. And ultimately, that ended up being a pretty good little business. Like for me, I use the term business very loosely. It was no real business. It was me, and then I would, hire a couple of my buddies every now and then if we needed to shovel a particularly large amount of rocks.
Yeah.
And so that experience, though, that was enough to show me I don't know anything about business, and I can still do this and make enough to just pay my expenses. Pay for rent and food and gas and have a little bit left over. I wasn't making a ton of money, but it was still the seed of like, all right, I really like the full autonomy that this gives me. And if I can learn more about business and educate myself, then I think I'd like to go down this path instead of like, that whole, I was in the marketing school or business school, all those guys getting corporate jobs seems terrible. That just kind of naturally didn't appeal to me at all. And then, yeah, essentially that was the spark that planted the seed that, grew into me really developing a passion for business and entrepreneurship. And then there were some other experiences along the way that acted as stepping stones to what I'm doing now. But that was where I initially knew that I wanted to be a business owner.
When did you open Harmony Marketing? What year?
It was June of 2024.
Okay. So you're coming up on 2 years this year, 2026.
Coming up on 2 years. Yeah, I was kind of like dabbling. I was like fully on my own, doing my own thing between January and June of 2024. So you kind of say I've like been, in my own business full time for 2 years, but officially like got the LLC June of 2024.
Yeah. Incredible, man. Well, what would you say to our listeners and viewers? A lot of business owners listening to this and entrepreneurs, and you're the guy to talk to. You're kind of you're Generation Z, correct? 25?
I am Gen Z. Yeah.
What would you say the biggest mistake you see small business owners make with marketing right now at this current in 2026?
This is a very good question. I love this question. There's a lot of mistakes that people make. Number one is they don't do it. There's shockingly high number of business owners that just like ignore the marketing piece or are extremely inconsistent. They'll, occasionally make a Facebook post, occasionally make an Instagram post. That's not going to go anywhere, if it's inconsistent. Another thing is and to no faults of their own, working with marketing agencies that really suck. Because the
Mm,
reality is, I talked to so many small business owners, and I've connected with a good number of marketing agencies, and marketing is a very low barrier to entry industry, and so you get a lot of people coming into it and
yeah,
selling these services, and there's this kind of culture in marketing agencies where it's a lot more sales focused and a lot less fulfillment focused. And so
yeah,
there's a lot of marketing agencies that'll sell the crap out of you and then provide a dog crap service. And
yeah,
so business owners are wasting thousands of money and thousands of dollars doing that, and they don't know who to trust, and it's not their fault. Um,
yeah.
and then also they just don't know the correct strategies for their business. So what we specialize in, and we don't work with all types of business owners. The way that we
Mm,
approach marketing is really great for high ticket service businesses that have somewhat of a consultative sales approach. And so, you know, our services are not great for a brick and mortar $150 a month membership, like a gym type business.
mm,
But they're oftentimes, if they're not seeing results from their marketing, it's because if they are actively, um, doing marketing activities, it's not a strategy or a structure that is aligned with their type of customer and like their type of buying experience. So I would say knowing the right strategy for the business. And then I would say the last one, and I see this a lot, is, and this is across the board, but especially for business owners who have worked with another marketing company or tried it on their own and been burned, they, it's this fallacy of just because it didn't work that time, it's probably not going to work in the future. And then they get really scared to spend money in order to
mm,
make money. And
mm,
so that's like, that's a deadly trap, because if you're scared to spend money, I think what people, like, going a little deeper, don't recognize is oftentimes, or forget, is that money is just energy, and your time is energy, and your time is a lot more valuable than money. And
yeah,
business owners want to save a buck here and spend all their time doing something, and they don't realize how much that's actually holding them back. And so, like, for example, just in my business, like, I've basically spent, and I'll just be transparent. I've spent about $3,000 on my own marketing in the last like 30 days on my own funnel, and I've collected about $15,000 from that. And so that
mm,
I just 5x my money with
yeah,
like no time, and it's just, I built the system, and now it's running, and so
mm,
it's just attracting clients, like the right clients, to me. And so I think a lot of business owners are scared to take that first step of spending money to make money, or
mm,
spending money again after they've spent it and lost it.
yeah.
But man, once you have that system in place, it's insane, because you're telling me I can attract my clients and 5x my money, and all I got to do is put a few bucks in. I don't have to like go, for years I went and grinded at like all the local networking groups, and just spent hours and hours and hours. And it's like, now I just have a system that just brings me the clients on autopilot, and just hop on calls and close them. It's like, so it,
Mm.
back to, it's okay to spend money to make money, because time is far more valuable than money will ever be.
That's brilliant advice, man. I really love how you shared that. And I can just, from my own personal experience and hearing, working with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, that is their number one. They work with a marketing agency. Maybe it was 12 months ago, maybe it was 5 years ago, and they had, like you said, a bad experience. It wasn't executed. They spent thousands of dollars. And I know individuals that are close to me that have spent it, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 with, not, they didn't get a return on their investment. And there's a lot of variables to that. So I hear what you're saying, and it could be a fear for a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. Well, what do you feel like separates the difference between what you're doing at Harmony Marketing versus some of these other marketing agencies, man? How do you distinguish yourself? Because obviously, just getting to know you these last couple months, and you being transparent on the podcast today, I feel like you are mastering your craft, and you are obsessed about it, clearly. And it's like I told you before, I'm a big believer in, like, I do business with who I know, like, and trust, and it takes a long time to build trust, right, and build that relationship, because I really invest in the character and in the business owner that I'm doing business with, and then also too, I'm like, okay, I'm going to catch this versus having what you said earlier. It on the front end. I know I won't name names, but there's a ton of marketers out there their stuff looks awesome. I mean, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but then 3 months later, their churn is so high. Their customers are leaving them. Well, why is that? It's because, like you said earlier, they're not seeing a return on their investment. So I'm curious, man, and then we'll move on. What would be like that one distinguisher, that one? This is another marketer. This is another marketing agency. Like, what do you do
Yeah.
differently at Harmony Marketing, man?
I think there's a few key things. I will say, yeah, the two biggest reasons why a small business will ever leave a marketing agency. Actually, number one is not that the ROI isn't there. I would say that's number two. Number one is perceived indifference. So they think that you just don't care about them, because
Really?
that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is there's this culture in marketing agencies of sell, 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 grow your agency, get to 100K a month and beyond, and like, but
Yeah.
then they just completely ignore like providing a truly valuable service and a world-class service. And so, a lot of business owners will like, even if they're getting a decent return, they might leave because they just don't feel cared about. Anyway, that's kind of an aside, but I would say what really separates us, one, like you said, is passion. Like we genuinely, like, if I'm not getting a client results, and that'll happen from time to time. The reality of advertising, as with anything in life, is it is not a linear upward trend. There's volatility in the journey upwards, and so there's ebbs and flows, and that's okay. You calculate for that, you plan for that.
Yep.
But if there's a time where it's like we're not generating the results we want, it literally like is painful, and we're going to dive in and figure out exactly like, all right, what are the metrics telling us? What needs to be changed here? So one, we care.
Yeah.
Two, I'm actually passionate about funnels. Like literally, on Saturday, this past Saturday, I worked for 12 hours straight, and like the last 5 hours of the day, I was just like cracked out building a new funnel for fun. Like, I'm gonna host this like event next Monday, Marketing Monday. It's a small business owner workshop, just plugging that. But
Oh,
basically,
cool.
I was building a funnel for that. I recorded an ad, and I edited it, built out a landing page and a follow-up sequences, and I like had a blast with it. And I was just like going until like 11 at night on a Saturday. And I spent all week in the last 2 years doing this work for other people every day. And so I'm like, I genuinely love it because I know, a well-built funnel can just be life-changing and business-changing. And so it's really enjoyable. I also think we do offer a world-class level of customer service. Like we hear this from all of our clients is like, y'all's communication is insane. There's so many like marketing agencies where you'll work with and, you ask for something to be changed, or they just, they just don't update you. And you might not get a response for 3 days, 5 days or more sometimes. And so
Yeah.
we're extremely like rigorous about communication and transparency. And then there's some other things about the actual product that we're providing that I think, we've tested, we've iterated. The funnel structure of what we build, it's very intentional. We're not a shotgun marketing agency where, SEO and web design and Google ads and meta ads and all this stuff. We build funnels. We build social media sales funnels that are, it's a particular set of things that once they're in place, as long as, it is a strategy aligned with your business model, will attract ideal clients on autopilot. And so we've just dialed in like the actual service that we provide, and it's awesome. So, and there are a few
Yeah.
other things too. Like the one other biggest differentiator I would say also, just to cap that off, is I started my business doing videography, and then learned all the funnel things. And so a lot of marketing agencies don't do the video piece. And so the actual like ads that we create and run are some of the best on the market because like I'm just like, we start working with clients, and I've gone in recently. This happened where I went into a client's account, and they had worked with some of the biggest marketing agencies in the world in their space. and just the quality of what they had received was just like, how did that marketing agency grow to this level? It was just super low quality work. So those
Yeah.
are the differentiators, I'd say.
Man, one of the things, and I know our listeners and viewers can hear this, and the conviction in your voice. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got the energy, you're a student of the game, and those three things, man, they are important. What you have noticed already, and you've learned that by building this business, and you're working alongside of these business owners. And as you scale, you'll run into new challenges, new problems, and you'll grow alongside of that. Because the quality, from my experience, as people scale, especially young in business, 3, 4, 5, 6, the quality, yeah, you may scale, but now the quality of work has gone down, and your churn turns over. And it, man, I just love hearing this from you. You've surrounded yourself with the right individuals. You're going through the journey and you're obsessed about it. And here's the beautiful thing, Branden, you're staying in your lane. You're saying, hey, we don't do this, this, and this, but we're doing funnels, and and we can craft that to certain types of businesses. So, what the old saying, right? Riches are in the niches. So niching down.
Literally, that's been the theme of the last like 3 months, because I felt the pain. I've heard that advice for literally years now, but
Yeah.
I think some lessons, they must be lived in order to be learned.
Agreed.
And like end of Q3, Q4 of last year, I viscerally felt the pain of not being niched down. Like, we've had our niche of our service, but working with like 30 plus different types of businesses, and
Yep.
it's impossible to, in a marketing agency setting, to build systems around and scale, or it's very hard to scale when you're serving so many different kinds of people. And so we're extremely niche down right now. Like, all my advertising is only advertising to pool builders specifically right now. And we
Yeah.
built this like killer offer and killer service for them. And it's like, oh my gosh, the potential for where this could go in the short term is like insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge believer in the riches are in the niches.
Awesome, man. Well, final question, brother, and we'll wrap things up. I'm curious, what are you working on toward right now in 2026? We're recording this on January 13th, 2026, first quarter here. So what are you working toward right now? And what would you tell that young entrepreneur listening to this who feels behind in what they're trying to do in building their business?
Yeah. Main focuses right now. So you're familiar with EOS, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we run with EOS, started implementing it not too long ago. Anybody listening, looking at EOS if you don't know about it, if you're a business owner.
Yes.
But essentially, in EOS, you have several rocks, and rocks are just your big priorities for, the next, usually it's broken into a 90-day period. So a couple of my rocks. One, I'm looking to have at least 50% of my total client base within one niche. So just like what we talked about, that's a huge priority for me. Like I said, I'm only advertising in that one niche right now. So that just will allow me to build better systems and scale, and ultimately become more of an expert and develop our team's expertise in that niche and provide a much better service because we're just focused on them. So, and then financially, like that will do very well. So focused on niching down, getting half of our clients in one niche, focusing on removing myself and Lexi, my wife, from all direct client fulfillment related activities. I've got a lot of it off my plate, but there are still a few things where I am the constraint to the business's growth because I'm the source of producing a few things that are necessary for these funnels. So that is a big focus. Also leaning into building my personal brand and thinking not just short term, but long term. So, I'm trying to really build out an amazing marketing agency, but also long term, I want to do similar to what you're doing here with the Level Up and Live podcast. I want to, grand scheme, and I would look into Myron Golden too, because I think he's done this very well. But you have these people like Myron Golden, Alex Ramosi, Cody Sanchez. Do you know Cody Sanchez? Yeah. Those types of creators that, they started in business and then they leaned into personal branding and content. And then now they're running events where people will pay them, $100,000 to come for a weekend. And it's like, it's insane. And for me, it's not just like money that motivates me, but it's really seeing how far I can push myself and seeing how big we can go. And so that, like, in order to build a personal brand that will allow you to or just like where people would see the value in paying you that kind of money for your knowledge, that requires years of leaning into content creation and building that brand. So that I would like to go in that direction of like doing events, eventually writing a book in the long term. But to build that up now, just trying to get consistent with doing a weekly podcast and 3 to 5 reels on social media a month and just making that a habit. So those are the main things I'm focused on right now.
Well, awesome, man. What would you leave that one piece of advice for a young entrepreneur? It's like, holy smokes, Branden is doing big things. I feel behind. What would be that one piece of advice you'd leave them?
I think one that I heard this morning from Alex Ramosi that it like hit me just at the right time is the idea of it takes a lot longer than you think it's going to. And so, he literally I'd be shocked if anybody listening to this didn't know him, but he's like mid-30s, has a portfolio of companies doing over $200 million, but started out in the gym space. And when he went out on his own, it was like 6 years of grinding before he actually started like making real money. And so in the end of this video that I was watching, he was like, if you're listening in and you've been in it for 2 years and you don't like you don't think you're as far along as you should have been, try multiplying that by 3, and then you'll be at a place where maybe you will start making some real things happen. And so for me, it's just constantly reminding myself of like, I was going to share another idea, but it's that it takes a lot longer usually than you think it's going to. And so you just have to lean in and buckle up for the journey and just commit to growth. And on that, just a piggybacking idea, I think the biggest mental shift for me is focusing on inputs rather than outcomes. What you do is the only thing you're in control of. The timeline that things begin manifesting in, that's God's timeline, and you don't control that. So make your goals and objectives input-based rather than outcome-based. I think that's a huge game changer for me.
That's great advice, man. Yeah, that's the biggest 3 characteristics that I'm holding to the standards with the people that I'm surrounding myself with in 2026, you included, is consistency, commitment, and discipline. And those are the 3 characteristics that Jesus embodied, and he surrounded himself with his disciples, the people around him. Consistency, commitment, and discipline. You apply those in all areas of life, man. It's not if, but when you get to where you want to go. And knowing you just understand this is just a journey and giving yourself grace and mercy along that way. So, well, Branden, dude, I really appreciate you showing up today. Time flies when you're having just a back and forth conversation, especially with like-minded individuals. And I know our audience and our listeners and our viewers have got nothing but value today. And I appreciate you, man, for showing up. You displayed humility today. You're obviously hungry. You're eager, which I love. I understand like the iron sharpens iron, and you said I bring energy. Well, I'm like, this guy brings energy, and I love it, because it levels me up. And you also led with intention today. You were very intentional about how you showed up. So I appreciate you. So I just want our audience and listeners to know that, it takes courage to do that. So we appreciate you, man.
Awesome. I appreciate you. This is a wonderful experience. And man, I love being around you. It's a great way to start the day.
Of course.
Me up too.
Likewise, brother. Well, how can our community at Level Up and Live, how can we support you?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I think the Level Up and Live community is already supporting me in the way that I need most right now. It's like I'm good on the client side. I mean, I feel like our business is moving in the right direction. I mean, I would say go follow Harmony. It's on Instagram is where I'm most active. It's harmony.marketing.co. And then also my personal is Branden.Clay. But like I said, next Monday, I'm going to be hosting a marketing workshop here in the Woodlands. And I'm trying to bring as much sauce, as much value as I possibly can to help small business owners, because I think even though we don't work with all business owners that exist, I can share insights that do. And so I would say just following those to keep an eye out for any upcoming events that I'll be doing. That's something I want to lean into more. So yeah, that's that.
Awesome, brother. Thanks for sharing. Now, if this conversation resonated with you, and I know it did, go back and listen to this episode again. You're going to take away so much more listening into it second time. Go connect with Branden and check out Harmony Marketing on Instagram. Like you said, he's building something the right way, disciplined, values-driven, and focused on impact. And as always, keep leveling up and keep living with intention. Thanks again, Branden.
Thank you.